right? And so you'll be back into your teens. But now we will do our first talk of the morning. It's going to be on vices, right? Vices. And as I said earlier, our podcast, myself and Joe Bedard here, is fresh and faithful. That's why we have the neon lights here, because we like to keep it fresh, but also faithful as well. And just to say a little about myself, I'm a priest for about almost 8 years already, born and raised in Pomona. I'm of Vietnamese American descent. Went to public school all my life, never thought about priesthood until one day I made a deal with God. I said, God, if you save my brother, I will serve you for the rest of my life. My brother needed a heart transplant or else he would die. And so he was in the hospital for a whole year. And before I had to decide which college to go to, I asked God, God, you give my brother a new heart, I will serve you. But I say to myself, what does it mean to serve God for the rest of my life? A priest. So I didn't really have a desire to be a priest. God saved my brother, gave him a new heart before I had to decide which college to choose. I went to 2 places to apply, UC Berkeley and Seminary College, which is a college for seminary formation. I applied to these 2 places. And so when my brother got the heart, about 2 months before I had to decide, I said, oh God, I made this deal. And from that deal, I entered the seminary, and that's where I fell in love with God, right? So even through that deal, God was able to work in my life. And now I'm a priest. I love being a priest, and I'll talk more a little about that later. And then we have Joe. Joe, how about you? Tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell them.
I don't have a cool story like that. So I am married. I have been married it'll be 6 months this month.
Who married you?
Anyways, my wife's name is Lori. She is a RN that works in the OR at Redlands Community Hospital.
Yeah. Awesome.
But before marriage, before kind of diving in to my path to working with the church and working for the goodness of God, I really struggled with direction. I was a musician at heart at first. Always did music from 5 years old. I picked up a pair of drumsticks and went from there. I know like 9 different instruments, and it was my life. Like, it was my identity, it was my life. I'm a musician, I'm gonna be a musician. I went to school for music at Cal State San Bernardino for 2 years, and then switched to communications, picked up a camera, and started doing that instead. But in that time of music, I had a band. We wanted to be, the next rock band, I guess you could say. It wasn't really rock, but it was a genre of rock. And with that came all the lifestyle choices of drugs, alcohol, partying, girls, all that stuff. And as much as it was good for 3 minutes of your life, the rest of your life was very depressing, very lost, very confused. Didn't really know who I was. And from there, that's when I started doing music school at college, and then it really fell down on me that I was being told in my heart and in my brain that music is just not what it's going to be, because it created nothing but anxiety for me. I stopped playing music at home. I stopped writing music. I love writing music, and I stopped doing that. And I was just in a dark place for like a solid year of just really trying to figure out what I want to be, what I want to do. And I went to a confession one time and just kind of dropped all of that. And I was told that, I was really lacking direction, that I was really trying to find all these different avenues and using all these vices to find a good path. And through those vices, you do not find good paths. They just lead you down a stickier, darker road. And I had to learn that the hard way. And then from there, I said, okay, so I'm not going to do that anymore. And I started to, I was really into marijuana. I loved smoking weed back in the day. And that was my promise to God, was I will stop doing that if you change my life. If you can show me a sign after I make a sacrifice like that for you, I will dedicate my life. I will dedicate my life, dedicate my art that I like to do for you. And that's what I did. I stopped smoking, and from there, it's just been nothing but graces. There is definitely struggle in those graces, but I've learned to accept those struggles as a gift and to see that there's always a lesson in those struggles and to grow from those struggles. So yeah.
No, that's beautiful. And I guess this is the pathway into our podcast here. We'd like to also, see we pass out these cards for you. A lot of times we don't like to ask questions or make statements. So these cards are for you to make statements or question. And then once we enter into the podcast a little more, you can put the cards here and we can talk about anything that you write. So any statement, any comments, any questions, we will present it. And it'll be your way of entering into the podcast too. Right? We do not know everything. We're not perfect. We're not God. But we try our best to know God, who is perfect. And so what we try to give you in and through this podcast is really our experience, our lessons, our teachings, and the teachings of the church. I do have the Bible here, the Catechism. It's amazing because what you present to us, Joe, is the vices, right? There's the various vices that we get into. One of the vices, really, that you spoke about is, from what is resonating in my mind, is that vice of pride, right? And sometimes when we're into the vice of pride, we're like, what is pride? Right? And pride is really like self-love, I think. It's like when you wake up, all you think about is what? Yourself. Right? Yeah. I mean, how many times do you wake up in the morning and be like, oh, let me think about somebody else, right? It's about, what I want, what I'm going to wear today, what I'm going to do today. It's all about the I, right?
I think it starts also with like the morning. It's like we just immediately think that we're going to wake up. Like we just know that that's going to be a thing. And it's like tomorrow is not given. And so we're all always looking at the past, always looking at the future. And I think that's where I look at pride as a prideful thing, is because we're just thinking that it's guaranteed, that tomorrow is guaranteed, and we need to start living more in the present. And so when you wake up in the morning, you just go about your day and just thinking like, how cool am I woke up? Instead of, actually giving the graces and the praises and the thanks to God that you live another day.
Yeah, but why is it our tendency to always think about like the distractions in our mind, right? Because earlier I talked about like negativity, like why do we become so negative now? It's like so jaded by life. Like sometimes when I wake up, I'm like, man, like there's so many things happening today, but why am I so focused on all these distractions and not really what God is calling me to do right now?
If I look at like what I went through in my life and my experiences, I feel like I picked the things, marijuana, drinking, partying, trying to talk to every girl that came my way. It's like one, I'm trying to prove myself to something, but it's like I'm proving myself to something that's not reality. It's like I'm building a false reality for me to walk through. And then we see that today. Like everyone, truth is not just truth. Now truth is just relatable to your own personal thing. If you think it's true, then it's true for the world. And I think we're stuck in this world of building reality for ourselves and not for the greater good or for everyone that's on this earth with us. So I think we use those vices, we use those distractions, use that negativity to kind of blind ourselves from what really is being told to us through our hearts every day. I think God's always trying to reach down to us. I think God's always trying to talk to us individually every day, and it's up to us to kind of shut our brains down to listen to him, but we choose not to listen to him when we're stuck in our distractions.
Yeah, and that truth, like you said earlier, it's like relative, right? If you feel good, it's true to you.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times nowadays what is lost is objective truth.
Yeah.
And the objective truth is the truth that perhaps, for example, we're all made in the image and likeness of Christ.
I was going to say the truth's right there.
Right, the truth is here. Yeah. Because many times the mind can trick us. And I often say, like, for example, if I think I'm an elephant, does that make me an elephant?
I mean, you sound like one.
Yeah. I mean, I could look like one, right? I could, sound like one, but it still doesn't make me an elephant because I'm a human being.
Yeah.
Right? That's truth. That's objective truth. Right? You can't say to me like, oh, no, you're an elephant. Like, no, I'm not. Right? Because I am a human being. I'm able to rationalize. I'm able to have reason. I'm able to think, process emotions, thoughts, and feelings. I'm able to sympathize, empathize, right? Which elephants can't do. Right? And so many times within our life, I think we are so falling into the vice of the lies of this world, the secularism, right? Which is trying to give you these falsities. And at the end of the day, we fall into these traps. And we think like, oh, this is who I am because this is how I see myself and how people define me. And so we're allowing other people the power to define us.
Yeah. I think the big identity crisis that like you're kind of touching on, it's if I have to look my generation, going through catechism, like going through those, upbringings, we're kind of just, you're forced into it at, birth to 12 or whatever, and it's like you get all this stuff thrown at you, just piles of paperwork of information, and we don't really have the we don't really have the skill set to kind of understand that yet, I think. So I think it's kind of a thing where we need to dive a little deeper in the catechism, in the Bible, the older we get, and I think we kind of we don't really gain that discipline because it's up to us and only us. And that's where the pride comes in. I think it's up to us to open that Bible, and there's always a time when you want to read a Bible, there's that little thing in your brain that's like, you don't need to read this right now. And it's like, that's Satan, like that's evil. And it's just, I think, discerning what and what not to do when it comes to learning about your faith is kind of important. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's, and what you attend to, like, for example, if I'm listening to, like, back in the day, I like to listen to rap, right, hip-hop. A lot of the songs were like filled with all these negativity, all about whether it be like sex or all these love stories that didn't pan out, and all of a sudden the negativity and you absorb that, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, what's the meaning of my life, right? Or you're comparing yourself with another person in that song. You're like, man, I wish my lifestyle was like that too. But the reality is that's not real. That's the fantasy, the figment of your imagination. It's like you don't want to confront what is real. What is real is like, right now, God is calling you to be helpful to perhaps your brothers and sisters, to help your mom and dad out, to be kind, to be loving. But instead, we ignore that because many times it takes sacrifice, and we don't like sacrifice. We don't like that pain.
We don't like sacrifice, we don't like pain. And then, like what you're touching on, like we're sponges. Like we take everything and anything that we intake through media, social media, music, TV. Like look at most of the shows we all watch. I'm going to age myself, but not super old. But man, there was this show called Degrassi, The Next Generation. Someone say, oh my gosh.
I never watched that, bro. Never watched that in my life.
Oh, you should.
I watch, what was it, Smallville? You ever watch Smallville?
No.
Superman?
No.
Anybody watch Smallville out there? Yeah. Smallville's good, right? Yeah. It's a good show.
You're hurting my point.
I'm ADD, bro. I'm ADD.
Well, like Degrassi, I mean, even the show Friends. Like, I was a big Seinfeld watcher with my dad growing up, and it's like all those shows have that message of, hooking up and doing, partying and all these bad messages within the entertainment of the show. It feeds your brain into thinking like, oh, that's normal. And like, that's normal to communicate with your friends about these kind of things. And I need to be like that. Like you start having that pressure of maybe like having to act that way because, hey, if you saw it on TV, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to be cool because I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to do that. But it's more of a pressure I think that we can't really identify. It just happens naturally to us.
Right.
I think we just attract that feeling because we see like you want to be interesting, you want to be dark and mysterious, and to be that way, maybe I have to perform that way. Maybe I have to go start dating when I'm not ready. Go start having sex when I'm not married. And those kind of things, I think we're wired to think like that's the way to figure life out instead of taking the time to kind of really digest who we are in our souls.
And so really, the vices can encapsulate us and kind of draw us back down into the flesh, right? Yeah. Because sometimes I think, like, I do a lot of confessions, for the people of God. And a lot of times it's like, when I ask them, like, why do you keep sinning or doing the same sin? And they're like, because I'm already in sin, might as well sin again.
Yeah. We're stuck in that shame.
Right.
Like, we talked about that yesterday at another retreat I'm at right now, that I'm supposed to be at right now. Don't tell anybody. But,
I'm telling you.
Father Arenze, he's a priest at Holy Name of Jesus in Redlands, but he was giving a talk up there, and he's talking about, like, there's good shame and there's bad shame. And I think a lot of people, live in that, we like and we choose to live in that bad shame because it's easier. I think it's easier to just say, like, oh, I'm unlovable, I'm not worthy, and I can just quit because I have an excuse to quit because I'm not worth it. And instead of taking that shame and maybe driving it to change your life. I mean, that's what I had to do. That it took a long time to do that, of like, there are some things about me that I need to fix. There are some things about me that I do not like about myself because it's not getting me closer to God. It's not getting me closer to finding that future for me. You think it's doing something, but at the end you're just stalemate. And I think breaking out of that rotation is what the good shame kind of makes you do, because bad shame, I think, just keeps you in this little circle to just keep you sinking more and more and more and more until you're just lost.
And sometimes we think we are our sins. right? For example, I often tell people, like, for example, if I'm taking a test and I fail that test, but then the next test I pass it, does that make me a failure?
No.
No, because I did better. I tried hard, right? I tried my best on the next test and I aced it. But sometimes we define ourselves by that one F, meaning by that one sin or that one temptation we fall into, and we go, you know what? This is who I am. And you don't try to do better. You don't try to be better because you're defining yourself by your sin. And that's a lie, because God says you are not your sin. You are my love for you. Right? You're a child of God. When God created human beings, he didn't create us, oh, you are a sinner. No. Right? He created us very good, and because we're very good, and because we're free to choose, unfortunately, we were tempted by Satan, of course, and through that temptation, we chose what is wrong. And because of that, we got to pay for our sins. But through baptism, we recognize, no, we're made good, right? But why do we keep on choosing the bad and not the good? Even St. Paul says that.
Yeah. I think like it's what I said, I think it's just because it's the easier decision. I think we just like, oh, I can just do it again. And then we also, I think a lot of people take advantage of confession, of reconciliation, like with the Catholic Church, is we just think, the famous, I always heard that growing up, was like, I don't need to, right before I die, I'll confess all my sins and I'll be good. And it's like you're playing a game with with God and with your faith, and it's just not very true of heart. Man, I was going to say something and I forgot. I hate that.
I'm sure he's going to pound back.
Yeah, tonight.
And so don't yeah, it's kind of quiet, it's kind of awkward. So don't define you by your sin, right? Define yourself as, did I love? Did I try my best, right? Because try my best doesn't mean like sometimes maybe I can get a C, right? But that doesn't define me.
I was king of
because
C's.
I'm going to try harder next time.
Yeah.
So what is the definition of a failure, you think?
I don't think there is a definition.
Okay. Why so?
I think it's because I think failing is something we can't do while we're living, because I think every time there's another chance, every day you live, every minute you live, you have a chance to change what you've done, and it's just, failing is just, I guess you can call it a mistake, but it's more of just like a little notch where it's like, oh, I just need to fix that up. So I don't think there's an absolute, I think failing is very absolute, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so when you're living, I think when you have that chance to change, that opportunity to change and fix something that you quote unquote failed in, like then you're technically not a failure, because you have an opportunity to change that failure into something good.
So failure really is
it's opportunity. That's what I look at.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Right? It's a choice to choose, oh, I'm not going to try anymore. Like you gave up.
Yeah,
like giving up is like, yeah, you failed.
Playing an instrument or drawing, practicing drawing. It's like, we were talking about that earlier. It was like, man, when I was in elementary school, drawing was the hip thing. Like everyone needed to learn how to draw.
I remember that.
And I knew how to draw one thing. I told my friend, his name was Paul Siatang, I think was his name. He was like...
Paul Siatang?
He was like Indonesian, I think. But he loved drawing anime characters. So I had him one day like, hey, can you teach me how to draw an anime character? And I only knew how to draw that one anime character for like the next 7 years. But it's like, if everyone needed me to draw an anime character, I got you. It's one guy, but I got you. But with that, it's like I could either, technically I can keep trying, and I can keep failing with drawing. I chose not to draw anymore, because I chose that it was just not for me or yada yada, but I didn't fail at it. But then you look at music and stuff, a lot of people, like, I could have quit playing guitar right away just when I sucked at it for the first 5 minutes of playing. And it's like, why? And then I sit there and you think, like, why would you quit that? And I did do that. I played guitar for a second, and I was like, I don't want to play this because my fingers are too fat. I'm going to play bass instead because there's only 4 strings and 6 strings.
Yeah.
And then once you learn bass, it was like, maybe I do want to learn guitar, because once you figured something out, a smaller version of it, or I don't want to say simpler because it's not simpler, but it's a little easier to play. Once you figure something a little smaller into it, you can ease into the harder stuff. And I think that's what we got to do with like reading the Bible, reading the Catechism. Like, it's great now because, podcast, Father Mike Schmidt has both of these things in a year, Bible in a year, Catechism in a year. And that's where I like how he does it, because, the Bible in the year, for sure, it's 15 minutes every day. And it's like you can just start slow like that. Going to Mass. What is it? If you go to Mass every Sunday for 3 years, you read the whole Bible?
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. So I think
most
it's just...
of the Bible, yeah.
What?
Most of the Bible, there's some selection.
But yeah, it's just like, I think that's where you have to think, is start small. I think we jump into we ask for too much of ourselves right away. And I think that's where we just kind of like, I'm good.
Yeah, I always like this. I feel like I'm in like a David Letterman or Jay Leno show.
I can see why they do it.
Yeah. All right, we pick one card, okay? I'll pick one and then you pick the next one. It says, oh, I like that. This is One Piece. What anime character can you draw? Also, what's your favorite food? I think this is for you because you drew anime character. But that person drew One Piece.
I don't know that person's name, man. I don't know. You had big
This
eyes.
is One Piece, dude.
I don't know who that is.
What is his name? Duffy? Is his name Duffy? Goofy.
From
Luffy.
Luffy's from Disney.
Luffy. I said Goofy.
I don't know the anime character. I think it was from Dragon. It might have been Dragon. Oh, Naruto?
Naruto. Dude, that's one of my favorite anime, man.
Cool, man.
Dude, I think I watched like over 100 hours anime when I was younger.
But it was, someone from there. Was there someone in that show that wore like orange?
Naruto.
Okay.
Naruto.
And he had like a headband?
That was Naruto, dude?
Yeah, dude. But favorite food? I really love pizza. I really like pizza. But I know like both of us, I guess, for an answer, both of it would be sushi, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. Love sushi, then.
Yeah.
Sashimi.
Sushi.
Sushi, man. What's up? What's up, man?
What's up? Yeah, we are trying to start going out and like rating sushi places on our YouTube, SBVOC. So if you want to find some really good sushi places around our area or have a good sushi place for us to try, message us on Instagram at SBVOC. Did that make sense? Said that really fast.
SBVOC.
SBVOC. But SBVOC. S as in Sam, B as in Bert, V as in Victoria, O as in Oliver, and C as in Charles.
You pick all these complex names.
Ophelia. But yeah, I like Italian food, Mexican food, and Father Hau is getting me really into Asian food, that's for sure.
Yeah. Because I'm Asian. All right, next question.
What made you two work together on the podcast? And then it says, huzzah.
You want to answer that first?
Yeah, but I can. I don't really know why we did this. All I know, I guess we'll just tell the story of, like, I started working with Father Hau. Father Hau did, he was the priest at my wedding. And we met to discuss the wedding, and he was looking for someone to do some video work, and I was like, hey, I do videos for weddings. I shoot weddings. That's what I was doing before this. I still do it sometimes, but yeah, so we kind of went into that realm of like, let's start working together, making videos of this, that, and then we decided like we should make a podcast. We were on our way to Chicago.
That's right.
We're on our way to Chicago to visit a couple seminarians of ours that go to school out there. And we were sitting waiting for the plane, and it kind of hit us of just like, we should do a podcast that kind of just talks about topics and how do we relate those topics to the Bible and our faith. And we just sat there, and it took like 5 minutes, and we were like, dude, fresh and faithful. Yep. And then the next day, Father Hau was sending me about 17,000 different logos. And yeah.
It works.
That was a good story, I think. I think that was the story.
Yeah, and it really came from our desire to just speak the truth with our personality and who we are as, for myself as a priest, and for Joe as a Catholic layperson. And we just felt like personality-wise, our humor, our interaction with the faith, it had a good element of balance and also realness. And that's why I like Fresh, because it reminds you like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't even watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's one of my favorite shows when I was younger. And then so I was like, oh, Fresh and Faithful. And I like the colors because I like Air Jordans. And that's like the colors that I like with Air Jordans.
Do you have Jordans?
I do have Jordans. Yeah, I have 2 Jordans. But I'm not wearing them because, yeah, these are old man shoes. They're comfortable. They're comfortable, man. Yeah. Like Jordans are not hurt.
Those are Sir Jordans.
These are the retired MJs when he's retired. But yeah, I have like 2 Jordans, and I got a black and white, and a black and blue one.
Cool.
But yeah.
Where do you? where do you go to find the truth about life's most critical issues?
Oh, YouTube. And
WikiHow?
that's right, and SBVOC.
Yeah. Part of our new thing with our social media and website is we're building, resources for you guys to kind of figure out different things that you're struggling with, or figure out just the simple discernments in life of what you want to be when you go through this life. We have different vocations: marriage, priesthood, religious life, and the holy single life. And so, we want to build a resource center for you guys to kind of get questions answered, and to just learn about your faith and be proud of your faith. Also, there's this thing called the Bible. It's pretty cool. If you have a question, you can just open it, and this is the weird part though. You have to read it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if I just have a question on my heart, man, you can just open that Bible and just kind of close your eyes and hit it, and it will pertain to you. And then you can kind of meditate on that one scripture for a while. Lectio Divina?
Lectio Divina.
Yeah, Lectio Divina. Yeah, we call it that.
Yeah, and sometimes these critical issues, you just kind of simmer and kind of discern about it, because there's some issues that perhaps you need to think about it time and time again, because the answer isn't easy.
No, yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's not black and white. Sometimes there's a gray area. But in that gray area, God is saying, how do you sit with that issue and allow it to, maybe come and find that answer within the Bible? Like you said, open the Bible. There's many times I have issues. I was like, man, all these distractions in my mind, it's not solving this issue. It's making it worse.
Yeah.
Right? And so I opened the Psalms and Songs, and I realized, God's saying this. Why am I worried? Right? Why am I feeling anxiety?
Yeah.
So
the more I like using that on our Instagram stories. The more you know, the closer you'll grow.
Yeah.
And that's kind of we have a segment that we want to start doing a little more of this video docu-series called Catholic Curiosity. And that was kind of the idea of it, was there's always room to dive deeper in learning things, and to just always keep asking questions, because the Catholic Church does have an answer to your question, but you got to just be open to find it.
Yep.
How do you know if a dream or a message or sign is from God?
Yeah, when the dream, message, or sign, if it's from God, it will not only give you peace, but many times it will lead you closer to Himself. And when it leads you closer to Himself, it will affirm, it will give you a sense of direction. Simplicity is a key too. God is not a complex God. We make God complex because of our complexity of our minds. Mm-hmm. But God is very simple. When God says, love your neighbor as yourself, simple. Hard to do though, right? It's complex. And so the message of God is always there. It's easy to understand sometimes, but it's hard to live it out, right? Because when God says, for example, earlier, myself and Joe and Cecilia, we were driving up the lane here, and just to share the story, and all of a sudden we're going into the entry. It says enter here.
Enter only.
Right, enter only. And then the man in the car was like, go out. And we're like, you go out, go back, because this is enter only, right? But in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm making things too complex. I'm just going to go back out and go on to the other lane, right?
Yeah.
And so what was God telling me in that moment? Let it go, right? Why be angry, right? Just be at peace. Don't let that person steal your peace. And so the voice of God is always leading us to that peace, affirmation, joy. And it's the voice of Satan that many times causes unrest, right? All the distractions and all the noise, right? And for example, how do you know, for example, God is speaking to you now? Maybe God is saying, listen or be distracted. What do? Be distracted.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you choose? You choose the voice of your pride over the voice of God.
Yeah.
Right? So God is speaking.
That's what I was going to say. It's just like when I'm in those kind of predicaments or discerning on what is being spoken to me, I just look at that. What decision is going to bring me closer to God? And usually it's the one I don't want to do. So it's like if there's something where it's like, man, I don't feel like going to that event today for church, that means I gotta double go do it, because that's something speaking into me that's telling me not to go, and there's a reason they're doing that, because it's an attack, and you gotta just fight through those kind of things.
And just because it doesn't feel good doesn't mean it's not good for you.
Yeah, well, it's because you think it doesn't feel like, for those examples, it's like it doesn't feel good when you're driving there, getting ready, getting dressed, driving there, but then once you're there, you're having a great time. And it's like, why was I even worried about it? Or why was I even not wanting to come? Because what else would I have been doing? I've been sitting on the couch with Cheez-Its all over me, on my stomach and everything.
That's right. Watching Netflix.
Yeah, I'm a Peacock guy.
You're a Peacock?
Yeah.
I've never had Peacock.
They took The Office off of Netflix and they put it on Peacock, so
okay.
I had to make
I never watched The Office. Heard it was funny though.
What the heck?
I know. I'm always in my office though.
Get it together.
Get it together. All right, next question. Or statement.
What negative obstacle has turned positive for you? A blessing in disguise.
Oh, interesting.
Hold on. What negative obstacle?
A blessing in disguise.
Oh, I mean, I got one. I mean, it's what I just talked about earlier of like having to really kind of dig deep in not choosing to do music anymore and picking up a camera instead. I didn't feel like called to do that. I didn't feel ready to do that because it was something brand new. I mean, I wanted to just do the thing that I'm always used to doing. And so switching that, doing a bunch of new classes, actually going to college, because music college is not college. So actually going into classes and doing actual schoolwork and just being kind of in this new environment was kind of hard for me of like, how do I even learn this stuff? And luckily I had a friend that was already in doing video stuff, and I would always just go do weddings with him and learn as I go. But that was a very hard obstacle to overtake because it was a whole identity change of like what I want to do, and it led to way more stuff that I've ever done really in music. But I'm gonna find a better one too.
Yeah, blessing in disguise. Let's see. I think the crosses we carry, like a lot of times the suffering that I go through is the interior crosses of my emotions, right? And how are they blessing in disguise? Because in that moment I realize, wow, sometimes I could be prideful.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes when I'm going home, I'm often triggered by what my mom said, even though it's good, what she says. But because of that trigger, I get frustrated. I'm like, oh, I need more humility.
Yeah.
Right? And so what I do is I start to detach from my pride and say, okay, I need to learn more patience. I need to let go of my emotional attachments. And so for me, the blessing in disguise is what? Refocusing my attention on God rather than the difficult struggles at hand.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, that's a blessing in disguise.
So there's always something being like there's always, I don't know, you can find good out of most things, but it's like, again, we just choose not to. Like we just choose to kind of put that aside because it's like we like to be miserable. It's like we like to be sad. And so instead of doing that, maybe looking at what you're struggling with and looking for that blessing. And then, yeah, just accepting struggle. People don't like the struggle. There's a famous priest or brother, I can't remember, but he has Parkinson's.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? But he's the one that opened my eyes of like how struggle can be a very graceful thing. It's because he was like, if I didn't suffer Parkinson's, one of my nieces or nephews could have got it later in life. So I will take that struggle on for the goodness of my sister's kids and all these things. So it's like I think sometimes we need to remember that when we pick up a struggle or deal with a struggle, we are taking it off of one of our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and just to share you the story, when I was in high school, even middle school, I was bullied. I don't know if you were ever bullied, but I was bullied for just being tall and Asian.
I was bullied in 3rd grade because I wanted to go on the adult, like the cool swing set, the 5th grade swing set, and they were like, dude, you can't be over here. And I was like, I'm going to go tell my mom.
And it's crazy how we still remember these incidents, right?
I know. And that's the only thing I can remember.
But the story is that I was bullied by this guy named Renee for 6 months, in my 9th grade in high school. I went to Pomona High, the public school system. And this guy Renee would pick on me every single day at PE class, physical education class, first period. Right? He would spit on me. He would tease me. And I said to myself, I said to God, like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, right now, I could jump this guy after school, got my homies, right? Because I live in the area we call the Islands in Pomona. Mm-hmm. And my friends were like, yeah, we'll get together and we jump in right after school. We know where he lives, right? But then I said to myself, you know what? I am not a person who likes violence. No. Because when I was growing up, I saw violence as just evil. Like, why would people be violent to one another? Right? Why can't we just love one another? And we talked about love earlier. A lot of the kids here were talking about, yeah, love. Like, why can't we love one another, forgive one, and be merciful? And so in my mind, I was like, God, what do you want me to do? And what God was saying to my conscience, to my heart, was be patient. I was like, oh, man, this is the hardest virtue. One of the hardest virtues is being patient.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
6 months down the line, every single day he picked on me, dude. And he would say terrible things. 6 months down the line, one day he goes, "Good morning." I was like, what the heck? Like, good morning. And he goes, "How are you doing?" And so we had this conversation, and one thing led to another. He started to reveal like his family life. His mom and dad was being divorced. His older brother was in the drug and gangs and everything. And he was just going through a lot. And he says, "You were the only person who kept on smiling." And I hated that.
Yeah, it's forgiveness. Like he couldn't forgive the things happening in his own life too. So it's like it all starts there.
And he became one of my best friends, Renee.
And God jumped him.
Yep. Yeah, God jumped him with love and mercy. Yeah. Yo, that's true. That's true. That's funny. So blessing in disguise, right?
What if God bores me now and I just want to party and try stuff while I'm young? They didn't write this, but YOLO.
What if God bores me now and I just want to party and try stuff while I'm young? God never bores us. If you say that God bores you, the definition of boredom is a person who lacks conviction and passion. So if you say God is boring, what you're defining is that you are a boring person, right? And that's real, because God is all about love and passion and desire, right? And so how do we get away from that boredom? Because we are the one who choose to be bored. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Right?
I would resonate with this actually kind of a lot, because I feel like that's what happened to me in my past, was thinking that partying, being in a rock band, drugs, it leads to that boredom. Like you think it's really exciting, but the next thing you know, you're doing those things by yourself in a room by yourself, and it's like, why is this exciting? Like it's not. It's very dull. And that's what happens, is you're just dulling your senses to the desire. You're dulling your desires because it's keeping you in a cage of just wanting to be focused on this one thing, when if you stop doing those things, your cage will be opened, and now you have the choice to exit it, or you can just stay in there. Isn't there like a saying like that? Like Satan doesn't lock you in a cage. He keeps the cage open, but we choose to stay in the cage.
No, yeah, that is. Hell is a personal choice to stay in that cage, right? And happiness is choice. You think about it, like a lot of times you go, God, make me happy, make my life happy. And God's like, I give you a family, I give you friends, I give you a house, I give you all these good people around your life, and you're still not happy, right? So happiness is essentially a choice.
And we don't, it's like we don't try something new. Like in that time of my life, I didn't even try to quit and see what the other door has. What's door number 2 hold? We immediately just go into I'm just going to go party because that's what everyone else does, and everybody looks like they have fun. You see all their cool posts on social media, they must be doing something really cool. But then you go to those events and they're actually not really cool. They're just staged things to make you think that it looks cool. It's all fake. And it's like, that's the thing. I think we all just never even try. We never really give God a chance sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's like we just think that something magical is supposed to just be thrusted upon me, instead of actually doing a little bit of work to see those fruits.
No, you're right. And I remember when I went to parties when I was younger, I had anxiety, dude.
Oh, I was scared. I was just a people watcher. I would just sit in the corner and just people watch everybody.
It's like awkward, dude.
Yeah. There's nothing to say. We're just all here.
It's really learning about yourself too, because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to make that commitment to learn about who you are as a person, and why do you desire all these things of the world when you know it's not going to fulfill you.
What would be maybe some advice to maybe find that compassion for this no? Because I know people. I mean, I know people get bored, quote unquote, bored of it, in a sense, because they just don't know the truth, or they haven't seen that excitement. So like, what would be some advice to find that excitement?
Well, first and foremost, don't seek excitement.
Yeah.
Right, because excitement is ephemeral, it fades. Mm-hmm. Right, seek healthy relationships, fulfillment. Right, seek the Lord first and foremost, but also a healthy relationship with your friends. Right, build upon that. Don't gossip about your friends. That's one of the biggest sin is, I gossip about my friends. Wait a minute. Isn't that person the person you love? And isn't that person your friend? Why are you gossiping about your friend?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, hurt people hurt others. And they hurt the people you love the most. And so my recommendation is, how do you come into that truth to understand, I want to love, but I'm living this life of facade or lies that sometimes I'm forced in this situation who I don't want to be, or this identity the most protection or a sense of fame or honor or power, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we are betraying that true sense of who we are as a person.
And it's, yeah. I would say to really work on breaking out of your comfort zone. I think we, like I said, we don't really give God a chance. We don't open door number 2 sometimes, and I think it's because we're just uncomfortable. But sometimes being uncomfortable is a good sign that you're onto something.
No, you're right.
Like, I mean, even sitting up here, it's like,
No.
do you think I really just want to just like, I'm like looking forward to sitting up here? Like I was uncomfortable, you know, I'm uncomfortable, but it's like in that adrenaline, it's like you find and you just let the Holy Spirit take what we're going to do. Just do it, you know. I had to really learn that just working with Father Hau of just trust that things will be done. I was always a planner. I wasn't really good at planning, but I still wanted to plan things. And it's like, you just have to learn to just put that away and just realize that like what you're doing is what you're doing and that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
and it usually ends up better because I broke out of my comfort zone and you find that natural person that's inside of you, I'd say.
And you are not a sin.
Yeah.
To be you is not a sin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are you afraid of, right? I'm always saying that to myself, like, I'm not a sin. Why be afraid of myself?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. It's that simple.
I don't know, man. You look in that mirror, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Right here. How do we start reading the Bible? Ways.
How do we start reading the Bibles?
Yeah.
Ways?
The Bible.
Oh, the Bible. Start with the New Testament, because a lot of time the Old Testament is a little bit more complicated, but the New Testament is about Jesus Christ. And so the life of Christ, we love stories, we love parables, and that's the best way to really enter into reading the Bible is start with the Gospel of Mark, Matthew, of course, Luke, and John. That'll be my recommendation.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only answer because I don't know.
Next, because almost lunch.
What if no girls want me? Because I don't know what that means. Because I'm chopped.
Because I'm chopped?
You're a salad, bro? And I got no fits.
I got
God
no
ate
fits.
me. Am I cooked? I'm saying you're looking. This guy likes food. Chopped salads.
He's a poet, man.
I would say you're looking at the wrong girls, brother, because that sounds like a lot of materialistic stuff, and you should probably look for someone who wants to actually talk to you and not look at what you look like.
That's right. Don't be superficial, right?
I mean, I'm bald and I got married, so it's possible.
Touche. All right, last question.
What if I want to... Dude, I don't know this generation's lingo. That's all you.
What if I want to watch Skibidi Toilet? I don't know what that is.
What is that?
Like a Sigma. I also want to not rot in bed all day. So they just want to chill in bed.
I can relate with that.
How should I make time for God? Dude, this is interpretation, man. Oh my gosh. That means we're getting old.
You know what? Back to the Bible question. Read these first, because if you can read these, you can read the Bible.
We're getting old, man. All right, what is Skibidi Toilet? Is that like a series?
Just scream it out. I don't know what that is.
Is that a series?
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Okay, don't watch it. It's not good. So your peer says it's not good. Do not watch it. Okay, and then they just want to. Yeah, they just want to rot in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not rot in bed.
No.
What should they do?
I
Make
would
time
say,
for God.
hey, laying in bed sounds like, if you are going to lay there, it sounds like a great time to pray and talk to God. Nothing else is going on. Sit in silence and see what he has to say sometimes. But there was another thing on there, right? How should I make time for God? Okay, well, you're laying in bed. I don't know. Go outside, man. Go outside. I struggled with that a lot of, like, always wanted to sit inside, doing all these things inside. And then we got a dog, and I started walking the dog more. And now it's like, man, you really like to be out in the sun, see the nature, those kind of things I think would help you a lot. Again, don't turn to the things that were going to make you get out of bed in a bad way. Go get out of bed and do something like still a lazy type of practice, but go outside and just kind of smell the air, because I mean, don't breathe in too much of our California air, but you can breathe in a little bit.
Yeah, and also, integrate prayer with whatever you're doing. It could be like prayer while working out.
Yeah, prayer is just
Right.
what is it that...
Sending your heart to God.
prayer, yeah, is just feeling the desire for God, or, I mean, you already said something, but I was just going to say the one I heard.
I mean, that, yeah.
I'm just going to lie here. But yeah, feeling having that desire for God is just prayer. So no one says you have to sit there on your knees for 3 hours, you don't have to make the sign of the cross to start your prayer.
I mean, but it's good to.
It's good to.
It's good to.
It's good to.
Yeah.
The sign of the cross is a prayer in itself.
God doesn't force, he invites.
Yeah, yeah. So no one says it has to be so formal. Just have a conversation with him.
Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening. This is what we present in podcasts. I know we randomly go all over the place, but hopefully you catch something that you can think about and reflect upon. But also know that sometimes the truth is difficult, but we must kind of talk about it and dialogue about it and not be afraid to be wrong sometimes. Because sometimes I am wrong. I'm going to admit to you, dude.
Well, and sometimes being wrong will give you that opportunity to find the answer, because none of us know the right answers, not all the time. And so being wrong is a good thing. Don't be scared to be wrong. Don't be scared to ask questions. Cool. So with that, let's go eat some food, because I'm hungry.
Awesome.
And
let's bless the food.
Hold on.
No.
Hold on. Father?
All right, man.
We're going to say stay fresh.
And stay faithful. God bless.